good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you're watching or listening to this, and welcome to this week's episode of the Non-Identity Podcast. Now, this week we're joined by a lady who's an author and has an amazing story. So it's Alma. Hi, Alma. Welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you? Excited to be on today. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, we're so honoured to have you on. Before we get into your amazing story, can you just explain to people who you are and where you grew up?
My name is Minister Alma Thomas, and I grew up in New York.
And how was growing up in New York for you?
Growing up was great. We live in the suburb, not in the city part. So it was a diverse group of people. So growing up was great.
And like I said in the intro, you've got a story of loads of things that have happened to you, but
Yes.
you've managed to conquer through it all. Can you just take us back to the beginning and where it all started?
Okay. I'm gonna take you back to 2009. But before we go on our journey, if you notice, I am laying down. It's not because I'm tired or sleepy or but it's because that in 2021 I suffered a massive stroke. So temporarily I'm bedridden. So we'll start off by saying that now. We're gonna backtrack to 2009. And on February 13th, 2009, my son passed away from heart disease.
Sorry
He
about
had a
that.
massive heart attack, and he was 18 years old. So, on his 19th birthday, which is April 17th, so April 17th, 2009, it was my son's first birthday in heaven. And not that I was thinking of unaliving myself, but I was thinking more of I wanted to spend my son's first birthday in heaven. I was wondering if my grandmother had baked him a cake with the angels singing happy birthday. And then I decided that nobody could celebrate my son's first birthday in heaven like his mom. So I poured a bottle of high blood pressure pills into my hand, and I was going to take them all. And I had the pills up to throw them in my mouth. And I know that God is real because I heard a quiet voice say, if you do it again, if you do it, you'll never see him again. And I was going through so much pain and anguish on the inside, but on the outside, everybody said, oh my God, you're so strong. I don't know how I would be able to function after burying one of my children. And they didn't know on the inside, I was struggling. On the inside, I was slowly dying. And I told God that day, I was like, God, you gotta help me. I don't know how to get over this thing. I'm a minister in the church, and I understand that to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. And I understand all of that, but nothing anybody is saying is helping me. People saying, oh, he's in a better place. And I'm thinking in my mind, I wonder if my son and little Johnny could trade places. Would you still say to me that's a better place? Or is a better place in his bedroom, in his bed, where I can see him every day? And people would say, no, my grandfather, he was 78 years old and he had a heart attack and he's on the mend. And I'm thinking, God, why did you take my 18-year-old, but you saved a 78-year-old? And I know those thoughts, to me, they were horrible. I was like, how can you think like that? And I thought something was wrong with me because I was going in the African American church and community. Mental illness is not addressed. They see mental illness as a weakness, You're not strong, you don't love God enough. And Sunday after Sunday, I was going to church and I was going with that same hurt every Sunday and leaving with that same hurt. I was just a little oilier because they was throwing oil on me and saying everything is supposed to be all right. And I know that God doesn't make any mistakes, but I needed help. And I remember crying out to God that I needed him to help me. And I went to EAP at my job because I needed to talk to someone who understood me, somebody that understood what I was going through, and to tell me how I was going to get through this thing. And I had read about the stages of grief, but I never went through them. So I went through the stages of grief, and she told me that, you know, that grief is a process. You don't just go from stage 1 to stage 5 and everything is okay. You fluctuate between all 5 stages. One day you might be angry, and one day you might accept, oh, he's gone, and then the next day you back to being angry again. So you have to work through those emotions and those triggers. So after I got through that and I turned my pain into my passion by establishing the Tyshawn Thomas Friends and Family Scholarship. And to date, my friends and family, we have given out 15 scholarships
Wow.
to African American boys of single parents. And then, so life is going good. And then the apartment complex, the row of apartments I live in, one apartment caught on fire. The rest of them had water damage and smoke damage, but they condemned the whole row of apartments. So now I find myself homeless, and I go through the system and I'm like, okay, I need help. I never asked for help before. I worked all my life, and it was such a difficult process. And they understood that those apartments had burned down because everybody was there for the same thing, but that didn't make them compassionate or nurturing. And they placed me in a bed bug motel. And before we were there a whole hour, me and my daughter was bit about 4 times. So I went to my mom's house, and she had a 1-bedroom apartment, but we had to make it work until I found something. Then life is okay. And I meet someone, and he seems to be a terrific guy. And then after we get married, it's like, who did I marry? Because then I found out that he's a functional crack addict, that he's addicted to drugs, and he's not in the place where he wanted any help, because he wouldn't even admit that he was on drugs, and he left my finances and ruins, and bad people coming to the house looking for him. And so I divorced him. And then in 2021, I had this massive stroke. I went to work that morning, and I taught school because I used to teach 3 or 4 year olds at the Head Start program. So I taught school, and I went home and had a meeting, and then I laid down about 12 o'clock, and I didn't have a massive headache like they said. They asked you, did you have a bad headache? No, I didn't have a massive headache, but there's something felt funny in my head. And then a few seconds later, I couldn't move my right side of my body, and I was in excruciating pain, the worst pain that I ever felt in my life. I stayed in the rehab for 2 years. A year and a few months ago, I came home. So now I'm recovering at home and getting physical therapy at home. So you see, what you would call trials and tribulations I call bad chapters, that I went through some bad chapters in my life, but God still has a plan and a purpose for my life. So I didn't give up on my dream. So before I had the stroke, I was an author and I have 2 books published and 20 anthologies. And after I had the stroke, I just finished writing, and it's at the publishers. I'm surviving a stroke against all odds, which comes with a healing journal. And today I just finished um my second book called Faith, and it talks about the faith I had to go through this. So and I do these podcasts. I try to do 1 podcast a day, because if I can inspire and motivate one person to awaken their dreams and go for their dreams, you're going to have bad circumstances. You're going to have bad situations, but don't allow them to stop you. You can't put your purpose on pause. The cemetery is full of unfulfilled potential, dead dreams and visions. Don't die with your dreams inside of you. Whether you want to go back to school, you want to write a book, write a song, whatever it, start a business, whatever it is that you desire, start a podcast, whatever it is that is your God-given purpose, live it out. Live out your dream. A lot of people have rocked their dreams to sleep, but when you look at me, I'm typing books. My right side is weak, and my right side is my dominant side. So I'm typing books on my phone with one finger, about following your dream, talking about not giving up, talking about not letting circumstances weigh you down, but soaring above everything. If I don't know, in the UK, if you have these carnival games, and there's one particular carnival game that you throw the ball at it really hard, and the clown goes all the way back. And
Yeah.
just when you're about to claim your grand prize, that clown pops back up again. Well, they put something in that clown that makes it bounce back. God put something in me I call the bounce back spirit, that whatever I go through, I bounce back from it. And I don't look at the things that I cannot do. I don't sit here all day and say, oh, woe is me, my legs don't work. But I say, oh, wow, my cognitive skills are not affected. My language skills are not affected. So yeah, I can still motivate people to achieve their dreams, not to give up on their dreams and visions. So I embrace the things that I can do, and I accept the things that is my limitation.
100%. And yeah, it sounds amazing what you're doing. But being a person of faith, was there a time that you felt like you needed to walk away from God? Or did you always keep telling yourself that this is a purpose and this is happening to me for a reason?
I always thought there was some time when I wish I could say I was superwoman and super faithful all the time, but sometimes my faith needed a little bit more faith. And I remember the words of God, that I'll never leave you, I'll never forsake you, I'll be with you till the end. So even in this, I saw a purpose in it, because I can inspire people to still reach for their dreams just by telling my story and then not giving up. So my faith is what kept me going, not giving up. Those 2 years in the rehab and excruciating pain. I couldn't give up because I said I was chosen for this journey, and God has a plan and a purpose for our life. So everything has to have a purpose, but you just have to find that purpose, even in the storm, even in the darkest hour. Like when my son passed away, that was the darkest hour of my life,
I bet.
putting him in the ground, because you expect them to bury you, not you bury them. So the darkest day of my life, I even felt the presence of God and my friends and family and the way they supported me through this whole process. I mean, my son was 18 when he passed away. So of course we didn't have any insurance on him. But in 2 days, my friends fundraised and gave $10,000. We raised $10,000 in 2 days without a GoFundMe page, without asking anybody for a dime. People just gave. Even the funeral home man, he took off every cost that he would have incurred. We only had to pay for the things that he had to source out. But every money, he didn't make a dime on that funeral. He donated his services. So who wouldn't serve a God like that, that even on your darkest day, he showed up?
Yeah. 100%. And you're talking about your scholarship program. Was that set up in your son's name?
Yes.
Yeah. What's the, obviously, you said it's to help young Afro-American men. Where did that idea come from, and how do you go about setting up an organisation like that?
My son, before he passed away, he was accepted to a pre-law program. So
Brilliant.
he was gonna sit out for a year to get his health together, and he was gonna go to college. He loved education. So it was his desire to go to school, and because he couldn't, I wanted his legacy to be that he helped other African American boys of single parents, because I was a single parent. And so my friends and family have gotten together and they give money every year. And however much money we collect, we try to give each child $500. So some years we've given out one, some years we give it out five. It depends on the amount of money that we collect. So that was turning my pain into purpose and establishing his legacy.
100%. And moving on to the stroke, like you said, there was no warning signs. The same sort of thing with my wife. She just got up to go to the toilet, said her leg felt a bit funny, and then that was it. Went into a stroke. How has it affected you differently mentally? Because with my wife, she's got no feeling in the left side of her body. Her cognitive skills, as you said, same with you, are a lot weaker. The way she thinks is a lot different. Do you find that's happened with you? That your brain's patterns got a bit screwed with?
What I found, other than the weakness on the right side of my body, is that I sleep a lot, and
Yes, I just
I'm up all night and I sleep all day. It's like when you have a baby and the baby have their schedule mixed up. Somehow my schedule got mixed up. Other calls, or I call my mom at like 4 or 5 in the morning because she wakes up early, and she's like, why you up so early? And I'm like, I haven't been to sleep yet. So I use that time when I'm awake to type my books, so I'm not sleeping anyway, so I might as well use my one finger and type my books. So that's what I do. But that's the only thing that other than the weakness on my whole right side, but I'm going to physical therapy again. And yesterday, she gave me some encouraging news. She was saying that my range of motion is increasing, and it used to be hard for her to bend my leg, but now it's getting easier.
Brilliant. And how did you find going to hospital during COVID time? Because obviously my wife went during COVID time and it meant I wasn't allowed to go and visits were very limited. So she felt quite isolated in the 2 months she had to stay in hospital. Obviously, you spent 2 years in hospital. How's that been during COVID times and the like not being able to see people?
It was, first of all, we wasn't, when I first went to the nursing home, when I was in the hospital, only two people could visit a day, and it had to be the same two people. And
Yeah,
they couldn't trade out. And then when I went to the nursing home, I was in quarantine for 14 days, so nobody could come and visit me. Um, the nursing home I was in was horrendous. It looked nice on the outside, but on the inside, there was some workers that was excellent, but then there was some workers that was just there for the pay. And I tell
exactly.
everybody that if you have anybody in a nursing home, especially now that you can go there, um, check on your people, because there's a lot of people in a nursing home that don't get no visitors. They don't have any family. They've outlived all their family, and they're not being taken care of like they should, because I had a voice and my family was calling. I was 45 minutes away from home, so I couldn't see. They didn't come every day, but my daughter came once a week to make sure I had everything I needed and that I was being taken care of. So they never knew when she would show up or when my mom would come. So check on your people, because it was even after COVID, it was terrible. But during COVID, and when you couldn't get any visitors and I couldn't see my family, that's when those was the time when I was a superwoman. Those are the times that I really needed my faith. Those are the times that I had to talk it and encourage myself.
No, 100%. And going to you being an author, how do you resonate with an audience? Because obviously speaking, we can bounce off each other having a conversation, but when you write words onto a page, you've got to connect with a lot of different people. So, with your writing style, how do you go about that process?
Um, well, when first I used to write all the time. I grew up always writing. I had like a million notebooks and journals and stuff around the house, but I never published anything. And then in about 2005, I was on Facebook, and this publisher was looking for someone to write a short story on divorce. Well, I was the first one, so I had a choice of love, marriage, and divorce. And I picked divorce. And at first I was gonna write like the amount of divorces in the church. And then it turned and I wrote a work of fiction. And then when I saw that book in my hand, I was like, wow, I'm an author. And I had began to write in 2009. I had began to write from the waiting room to the recovery room, which
Yeah.
started when my son passed away, and the doctor said we did all we could do. We couldn't save him. And that's when I began writing that, and I could never finish it. So in about 2016, someone asked me to write an article, so I was just gonna go through one of those 100 books I have and pick something out and dust it up and send it in. But while I was doing that, God dropped in my spirit dream killers. And I was like, what does that mean? And he said, you can't write from the waiting room to the recovery room because you have not yet recovered. You allow people, places, and things to kill your dreams. So I began to write a book on the things that we allow to kill our dreams: fear, doubt, low self-esteem, procrastination, all the things that we allow to kill our dreams. And once I wrote that book and freed myself, I was able to write from the waiting room to the recovery room. And as to date, I think I've been a part of at least 20 to 30 anthologies. I have a chapter in 20 to 30 anthologies. And like I told you earlier, I just finished writing Surviving a Stroke, and I wrote a book on faith, and I'm attempting to write a whole, instead of a nonfiction short story, I'm attempting to write a novel, a nonfiction novel. So those are the things that I'm doing right now.
No, that's amazing. And if people want to get hold of the books you've already wrote, where can they find them?
Well, they're on Amazon, but I don't sell them on Amazon because I want to sell them myself, because if I sell them on Amazon, especially the anthologies, the authors of the anthology gets paid and we don't. So we have to sell them in order to get paid. So I'm in the process of revamping my web page, my website, so I can sell the books myself and the journals myself, so I can use the money towards my son's scholarship fund and towards my stroke recovery. So right now, you can reach me on Facebook, Alma Thomas at Facebook, or on Instagram, 830.
And what we'll do, we'll put the links in the description below so people get to you quicker. Well, you are everything this podcast is about. I set this podcast up to share inspiring stories to help people, and you are everything that embodies what I wanted to do on this journey. So I thank you so much for coming on. But before we go, I've got one last question, and this question I ask every guest. If you could be remembered for one word and one word only, what would it be and why?
Well, it's really two words. Dream igniter. And I want to be known as a dream igniter because people who have rocked their dreams to sleep, things that they thought they could never do, things they thought they could never have, I want to ignite the dreamer in them. Do you remember when you were a kid and somebody wanted you to do something and they say, I dare you to do it? And because they dared you, you
Yeah,
go and do it. Well, on today, I double dog dare you to dream again.
well, Minister Elmer, that was fantastic. And I really would love for you to come back on in about 6 months' time so we can see how further down your recovery journey you are. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for inviting me and allowing me to share my story on your platform, because I do these podcasts and I come authentically and transparent. And a lot of people say, are you embarrassed to be in your bed? No, because are you embarrassed that you're not doing what you want to do, and you have two legs and you have two arms, but with one finger, I'm still following my dream?
Exactly.
So I can inspire one person a day, then my living won't be in vain.